Welcome to the Digital Intellect, bringing you the latest news from around the world. In the summer of 2025, the Alaska Highway, once a symbol of friendship, has become a line of division. Canada has imposed a massive toll, turning this vital route into a financial barrier between Americans and their own land. What looks like a simple road fee is actually a powerful political statement, challenging North American unity. The highway is a lifeline for nearly 730,000 Americans, carrying food, medicine, and connecting families. Now, that path is blocked by a fee many cannot afford, sending shockwaves through communities and businesses. President Trump has called it an economic blockade and a betrayal by a trusted neighbor. Protests have erupted, truck drivers are stranded, and Alaskan businesses are reporting shortages. The toll is more than a fee, it's a weapon in a new kind of conflict, one fought with economic pressure. This event forces us to question the price of access and the fragility of even the strongest alliances. The world is watching, as this dispute could set a precedent for how nations use infrastructure as leverage. For decades, the U.S. and Canada shared the world's longest undefended border. That legacy is now at risk. The Alaska Highway toll is a stark reminder, even the closest partnerships can fracture overnight. As days turn into weeks, the world waits to see if this crack in North American relations can be repaired, or will it grow even wider? To understand the outrage, we must look back to World War II. In 1942, after Pearl Harbor, the U.S. and Canada joined forces to build the Alaska Highway, a lifeline for military defense. Over 1,500 miles of road were carved through wilderness in just 8 months, a feat of engineering and cooperation. American and Canadian crews worked side by side, united by a common enemy and a shared purpose. The highway's completion at Soldiers Summit was a moment of pride, symbolizing what the two nations could achieve together. Built with American resources on Canadian soil, the road embodied a promise, mutual support, and open access. The agreement was simple. America would build and pay for the road, Canada would provide the land and waive fees. After the war, Canada took over its portion, but the spirit of shared access endured for over 80 years. The Alaska Highway became more than infrastructure. It was a living testament to trust and partnership. That foundation now feels dangerously unstable. The toll threatens not just travel, but the very promise that built the road. For generations, the highway stood for unity. Today, that unity is under siege. The story of the Alaska Highway is a reminder. Alliances are built on trust, and trust can be lost. As history echoes into the present, the question remains: can that trust be restored? The answer will shape the future of North American cooperation. The road that once united two nations now divides them, and the world is watching. After the war, the Alaska Highway transformed from a military route into a bridge for people and commerce. It opened the wild north to travelers, earning the nickname Friendship Highway. Families took epic road trips, and small towns along the route thrived on the steady flow of visitors. The highway became Alaska's main link to the lower 48, vital for supplies and connection. Businesses, from motels to gas stations, depended on American tourists and truckers. The road was more than asphalt, it was a living symbol of the world's longest undefended border. Along the way, Americans and Canadians shared stories, meals, and built friendships. The border felt less like a barrier, more like a handshake. For Alaskans, the highway was a guarantee they weren't forgotten, a psychological and physical lifeline. Driving it was a rite of passage, a journey that connected distant communities to the rest of the country. The highway's free flow was taken for granted, a natural part of being neighbors. Now that sense of connection is threatened. The toll has turned a bridge into a wall, and the impact is deeply personal. On July 1st, 2025, Canada announced a new toll: $2,500 for trucks, $750 for cars per trip. The government cited urgent repairs and environmental protection as reasons, but the U.S. saw it as a shocking betrayal. President Trump called it a hostile act and accused Canada of breaking an 80-year-old promise. In Alaska, panic set in. Governor Sarah Palin called it a ransom, and families canceled long-planned trips. Students worried about reaching college, and small businesses faced bankruptcy. The sense of betrayal was raw. The highway was part of Alaskan identity. Canada defended the toll, arguing that Canadian taxpayers have long shouldered the cost for a road used mostly by Americans. They insisted the toll was about fairness and environmental responsibility, not politics. But for Alaskans, the explanation rang hollow. the toll felt like a door slammed shut, cutting off their only road to the rest of the country. Protests erupted at border crossings, and social media filled with stories of hardship and anger. The Canadian government maintained its stance, citing climate change and rising maintenance costs. The U.S. offered to help fund repairs but refused to accept a one-sided toll. The standoff deepened, with both sides digging in. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of unity, had become a flashpoint for resentment. The trust that built the road was now in pieces, and the consequences were just beginning. For Alaskans, the toll is a daily crisis. Prices for groceries and essentials have soared, and trucking costs are passed to customers. Families are separated, the highway now a barrier. Small businesses and tourism are collapsing. Alaskans are resilient, sharing resources, but frustration is mounting. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of freedom, now feels like a locked gate. The outcome is far from certain. The toll's impact ripples far beyond Alaska. Trucking companies in the lower 48 face unsustainable costs, with some reducing service or shutting down. Farmers and manufacturers across the U.S. are losing business as shipping to Alaska becomes too expensive. The economic pain flows south, disrupting supply chains and threatening jobs. Canadian businesses along the highway are also suffering. Motels and restaurants face empty rooms and quiet streets. The mayor of Watson Lake, Yukon, laments, "Our town is dying. For 80 years, Americans were our friends and customers. Now, they're gone." The toll, meant to raise revenue, is crippling the very communities it was supposed to support. The loss of tourism and commerce could cost Canada more than it gains. This crisis reveals the risks of using infrastructure as leverage. Unintended consequences can devastate local economies. The economic tremors are a warning. Confrontation comes at a high price for everyone. The Alaska Highway, once a conduit for prosperity, is now a source of hardship on both sides of the border. The longer the standoff lasts, the deeper the damage, and the harder it will be to rebuild what's been lost. The political fallout has been swift and severe. The U.S. has condemned the toll, recalling its ambassador and threatening tariffs on Canadian goods. Congress is united in outrage, demanding action. President Trump has floated retaliatory measures, raising fears of a trade war. Emergency meetings between U.S. and Canadian officials have yielded little progress. The U.S. demands the toll's removal, citing historic obligations and national sovereignty. Canada insists on its right to manage its infrastructure and address environmental costs. Both sides feel wronged, and neither is backing down. The dispute has frozen U.S.-Canada relations with no resolution in sight. The world's closest partnership is now at a crossroads. Experts say this crisis is part of a global trend. Countries using infrastructure as leverage. The Alaska Highway toll is a test case for the future of open borders and shared access. The worst-case scenario, a trade war, with tariffs and economic pain on both sides. A more hopeful path, diplomacy and compromise. The U.S. could co-fund highway maintenance, respecting Canadian sovereignty while restoring access. A new binational commission could oversee the road, allowing both sides to save face. But trust, once broken, is hard to restore. Even if the toll is lifted, the memory will linger. Businesses may rethink cross-border supply chains. The U.S. might invest in alternative routes, reducing dependence on the highway. The idea of the undefended border has been challenged. This crisis will force both countries to rethink their relationship for the next generation. The future may be more cautious, less trusting. The Alaska Highway's story is no longer just about a road, it's about the fragility of partnership. The choices made now will echo for decades. The world is watching to see which path they choose. The Alaska Highway toll is more than a dispute. It's a lesson about friendship in a changing world. For nearly a century, the U.S. and Canada built a partnership on trust and shared values. Today, that trust is shaken, and the road ahead is uncertain. Rebuilding will require more than a political deal. It demands understanding and compromise. Canada must recognize the highway's deep meaning for Americans. The U.S. must respect Canada's concerns. A new agreement, joint stewardship, shared costs, could transform the highway back into a symbol of cooperation. The future depends on rediscovering the spirit that built the road's shared purpose and facing challenges together. The world is watching to see if these old friends can find their way back. The Alaska Highway's next chapter is unwritten. Will it be a story of division or of renewed partnership? The answer will shape not just a road, but the future of two nations.